Hello, beautiful creatures of decadence and curiosity, and welcome back to the Domina Tempora Podcast, where myth and history are poured for you neat, hot, and with a deliciously wicked aftertaste. Before we plunge into today's prophecy-soaked tale, allow me to spoil you with a few offerings worthy of your formidable mind. As you know, my brand new course, Greek Mythology 101, a cultural guide to the gods and myths, is now live on Udemy. This is not one of those limp, dutiful, here are the gods, here are their symbols, good luck surveys. No, darling. This is myth as identity, power, worldview, and seduction. It trains your eye to read mythology with precision, elegance, and insider fluency, the way a queen reads a treaty or a priestess reads omens. If you want the keys to the kingdom, this course hands them to you. If Domina Tempora is the feast, this is the knife. And of course, every month on the website, members receive an exclusive long-form essay. This month, we dive into Athena Parthenos, the statue that cost an obscene amount of money, enraged more than one politician, and conveniently hid corruption behind gold leaf. Oh, she was divine, yes. But she was also the most glamorous piece of political theatre the ancient world ever built, and the scandals behind her are delicious. Do wander through the archive, and, if anything tingles at the base of your skull, become a member and drink deeply. All beautifully cited naturally. We may be dangerous, but we are not heathens, and do not forget your sensory delights. The Domina Tempora YouTube channel is alive with weekly Edgar Allan Poe whisper readings, drifting out every Thursday like a soft curse. So here is your invitation, or perhaps your summons. Visit the website, become a member, explore the shop, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and enroll in the course. Elevate your mythic literacy. You deserve the finer things. Now, on to today's prophecy. Virgil describes Deiphobe, better known as the Sibyl of Cumae, as a woman whose voice erupts from 100 mouths in the rock, speaking terrifying riddles that even heroes fear to hear. That image, a woman in a cave, her voice shaking the stones, is the one that lingers. A prophetess, trembling with divine fire. But if we stop at that, we miss the point entirely. Because Sibyl is not a name, it's a title. A job description, a role played by many women across centuries, women who people like to think as just predicting fate, but no, these women were actively steering it. Cassandra of Troy, a Sibyl, the Libyan priestess consulted by Alexander the Great, a Sibyl, the woman who bargained with the kings of Rome, burned prophecies in their faces, and dictated the spiritual foundation of an empire, a Sibyl. These weren't trembling oracles tucked away in caves. These were women who walked into palaces, faced kings, and rearranged history with a sentence. Consider the story Dionysius of Halicarnassus gives us. The last king of Rome, Tarquin the Proud, is approached by an old woman carrying 9 prophetic books that she claims to contain Sibylline prophecies. She offers them at a price that Tarquin finds ridiculous, and he laughs at her ridiculous price. In response, the woman burns 3 of the books and leaves without leaving a trace. Sometime later, the same woman returns with the remaining 6 books and offers to sell them at the same price as the original 9. Again, Tarquin laughs at her, thinking that the old woman has lost her mind. Again, she burns 3 of the books and leaves. The woman again returns sometime later with the remaining 3 books, still offering them to Tarquin for the same price as the original 9. At last, this time the king does not laugh. This time, Tarquin, finally aware he's dealing with something that might eat him alive, consults his augurs. They practically panic. Buy them. Buy whatever she has left. Pay her price. After Tarquin begrudgingly pays the woman, the old woman disappears and Tarquin would never see her again for the rest of his life. This woman was Deiphobe, the Sibyl of Cumae, the very woman who accompanied the legendary Aeneas to the underworld and back. He does. She vanishes. The books remain and become the Sibylline books, Rome's sacred archive, consulted in crisis by a council of elite guardians. Tarquin had the Sibylline books laid up in the Capitol. This installation of the Sibylline books on the Capitol was an important event in the religious history of Rome. Tarquin became the first Roman ruler who solemnly consulted what the Greek had recognized as the Delphic oracle, and it proved to be, at least, an early and potent factor in the Hellenizing of Roman religion. One woman, 3 books, and Rome's destiny rewired. And this woman was Deiphobe, the same Sibyl who escorted Aeneas into the underworld and back again, guiding him toward the legacy that would eventually become Rome. This wasn't passive prophecy. This was leadership performed through mystery. But the Sibyls were not simply mouthpieces for the divine. They were woven into the desires, the violence, and the politics of the gods themselves. Many traditions tell us that Apollo's prophetic gifts were really bribes or punishments. According to the general belief, the first of the Greek Sibyls was a woman named Hierophil, sometimes described as the daughter, sister, or wife of Apollo, other times as the child of a fisherman and a nymph. Hierophil is said to have come from the Troad, Biga Peninsula in the northwestern part of Anatolia, Turkey, to Delphi before the Trojan War, lingered for a time at Samos, visited Claros and Delos, and died in the Troad, after surviving 9 generations of men. After her death, she became a wandering voice which still brought tidings of the future, wrapped in dark enigmas to those who heard her. A more popular story was that Deiphobe, Marpessa, and Cassandra was the object of Apollo's lust. Apollo's gift of prophecy was an expression of sexual interest. Marpessa, the first of these women to be given the gift of prophecy, received it when she was taken from her husband and taken to Mount Ida by Apollo. She then served as his prophetess, in which capacity she foretold the fate brought by Paris to the city of Troy. Marpessa became captive to Apollo in the sense that she was given an unalterable fate and given commands in a way that obliges her to obey. Cassandra, the princess of Troy, rejected Apollo's advances after accepting his gift of prophecy. Apollo then turns her gift into a curse by giving her forewarning of danger, yet limiting her prophecies, so they would be neither understood nor believed by the people around her in time to avert disaster, thus rendering her gift useless. Deiphobe, who later became the Sibyl of Cumae, was also held captive by Apollo. Although she resists the advances of Apollo, he finds another way to occupy her. She appears insane when Apollo fills her body and forces her to speak his messages. The words spoken are not hers, and she does not have the choice of whether she would speak them or not. After possessing her, Apollo further abused her by cursing her to age, despite also giving her immortality. By Ovid's time, it's said that Deiphobe has withered down to a voice suspended inside a jar, a prophetess reduced to sound, lamenting and wishing that a day will come when she will finally be allowed to die. The Cumaean Sibyl was not the only prophetess who directly influenced the events around her. The Libyan Sibyl was identified as the prophetic priestess presiding over the ancient Zeusimon oracle at the Siwa oasis in the western desert of Egypt, the same oracle consulted by Alexander after his conquest of Egypt. She was the daughter of Lamia, who in turn was a daughter of Poseidon. The Libyan Sibyl was also credited with writing the Judeo-Christian Sibylline oracles, thus regarded by some Christians as a prophetic authority comparable to the Old Testament. The Sumerian Sibyl evidently had enough freedom to be able to give birth to a son named Evander. Navius mentions her in his books of the Punic War, and Piso also acknowledges her in his annals. Apart from her capacity as a Sibyl, she was considered influential as her son Evander founded the Shrine of Pan in Rome. Everywhere we look, the pattern repeats. These women didn't just foresee the future. They delivered the men who shaped it, and the Cumaean Sibyl appears twice at the birth of Rome. Virgil's Aeneid tells us that, long before her encounter with the last king of Rome, the Cumaean Sibyl speaks to Aeneas before his descent to the underworld. She tells Aeneas that he has the ability to rise above his fate before escorting him to the underworld to see his dead father. In the underworld, Aeneas meets his father, Anchises, who shows Aeneas his future and the future of his descendants, which includes Romulus, the founder of Rome, and Augustus, the first Roman emperor, who was, of course, the patron of Virgil, extolling their greatness and victory as a proud grandfather would. Once his father's prophecy is over, she accompanies him back to the land of the living. Clearly, from her relationships with both Aeneas and Tarquin, the Cumaean Sibyl plays an important role in the founding and fortune of Rome. If it were not for her guidance, Aeneas would not have met his father and know the importance of his continued journey. If it weren't for her, the Romans would not have had the guidance of the Sibylline books. All these are achieved by her actually meeting and guiding the men she was supposed to influence. The Sibylline books, by the way, became crucial in the ongoing decisions of Rome. The Lecti Viri, a group of 2 men, which eventually grew in number to 15, guarded the books. When the Senate's seers could not divine the meaning of extraordinary events, or when Rome needed direction in times of crisis, these men would be ordered to consult the Sibylline books, as the books often clarified the meaning of divine events, or ordered particular sacrifices to avoid a disaster. According to Dionysius, dereliction of one's duty to care for the books could have disastrous results. When someone reported that one of the guardians of the books had allowed someone else to borrow one of them, Tarquin ordered him to be sewn up in a leather bag and thrown into the sea. Fair enough, he paid an exorbitant amount for them. Yet every age has recast these women to fit its fears and fantasies. To the Greeks, they were holy women balancing on the knife edge of divine contact. To the Romans, they were state assets, dangerous but indispensable. To the Christians, they became allegories for Christ. To the Renaissance, they became exotic, powerful women in flowing robes. To later storytellers, they became tricksters, temptresses, witches. And yet, beneath every retelling, one truth remains. A Sibyl is a woman who speaks with power no one can control. Not kings, not gods, not the historians who tried to tame them with their pens. These were women who didn't seduce. They summoned, they commanded, they redirected the currents of myth and empire with nothing more than a breath and a sentence. Modern politicians wishes they could be like them. That is, modern politicians who reads history. And that, my darling, is far more terrifying and far more intoxicating than any oracle trembling in a cave. If today's voyage stirred something deep and ancient in you, good. Feed it. This story is part of a longer, richer, members-only essay waiting for you on the Domina Tempora website. So visit the site, become a member, explore the shop for a Domina dossier or 2, subscribe to the YouTube channel for whispered indulgence, and enroll in the Greek Mythology 101 course to sharpen your mythic instincts. Until next time, guard your mind, treasure your voice, and when a prophecy comes calling, make sure it's one you choose to follow.